Now we're talking about remembering going out of Egypt all the days of your life, and also in the days of the Mashiach. Even in the days of the Mashiach, we should remember going out of Egypt. And the Rebbe said one of the reasons is because when Mashiach comes, so there won't be any problems in the world. Mashiach will take away the problems from the world. So the Jewish people might think that that's it, our work is finished. We don't have to have any deal with the world anymore. We can just sit and learn Torah, do the commandments, be removed from the world. So that's what says that even when Mashiach comes, you have to remember going out of Egypt. In other words, there's always going to be some necessity to improve the world, to be involved in the world, to bring this future redemption, this revelation, not just to the Jewish people, but also to the whole world. That the whole world, is not enough that there's no problems in the world, that there should be revealed godliness in the world. And that's the whole idea of going out of Egypt, that Jewish people have to remove all obstacles in the world that prevent God from being revealed here. So it's not just good enough Mashiach is going to come and save all the Jews and elevate all the Jews, take the Jews to Israel. The Jews will be up high. The Jews will be God's children. We'll see that all the Jews are the sons of God and the servants of God and the soldiers of God. And what about the rest of the world? What about the rest of the world? Okay, they'll be okay. There won't be any problems. Says the Rebbe, no, you have to remember that going out of Egypt, you have to go out of your spiritual Egypt also. Leave your holiness and come into the world also, fix up the rest of the world so that the whole world feels this oneness of God. Okay, that's what it says also, Lahavi liyamot Mashiach. It says all the days of your life, even in the nighttime, even in the days of the Mashiach, you have to bring to the days of the Mashiach. What does it mean? Not just to include the days of the Mashiach. Our service of remembering going out of Egypt every day implies two things. Number one, that you machnisa, you bring in the days of the Mashiach into this physical world now. Now, the time we're now in exile, right? That we haven't got a temple. Yet, I hope that as we're speaking here, the Mashiach already brought it down into Jerusalem. But as far as I know, it's not happened. Even now, we have to bring the days of the Mashiach, Lahavi liyamot Mashiach. We have to bring the days of the Mashiach even now and even more. This, you have to do it all of the days of your life. What does it mean? The completion of the days of the Mashiach will be all the days of your life. This is what will complete the days of your life. It will bring the true redemption into every aspect of your life. And from this we can understand the words of the Chachamim, those that the rabbis are talking about what's going to happen in the days of the Mashiach, and there are certain laws which will only be in the days when the temple is built. It says these are laws for the days of the Mashiach, not for now. The Rebbe says, don't put in that thing, not for now. But then, nafkamina, there's a big difference in the service of a Jew now, before Mashiach comes, that we remember going out of Egypt, is you know that this is attached to the days of the Mashiach. Now you know that the laws of the Mashiach are not just something that's going to happen, that now we're bringing that right now into reality, little by little. True, the Mashiach is going to finish it, but our work that we do now is helping to bring the revelation of godliness that Mashiach is going to bring it into the physical world now. So Al Pizeh, according to this, Tuvan, we can understand Sheikhot, the Mishnah, the connection to the Mishnah, to Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, that on that day he became the leader of the Jewish people. That the idea of the leader of the Jewish people, Nasi, Nasi means he's the most elevated person. Means that he has to attach and unify Kol Yomei Chayecha, the daily life of every single Jew and of all the Jews, Kol Yomei Chayecha, the physical days of your life, and especially the physical days of your life now in the time of exile, when godliness is not revealed, and the Holy Temple is not here, and the Jewish people are confused, and the whole world is confused as a result of that. That's what's called remembering. It says you should bring to the days of the Mashiach in the nighttime, im geula, with the future redemption, Yetzias Mitzrayim, may all going out of not just Mitzrayim, the country, but going out of all of our limitations in general. And the job of a Nasi is to unite all of the Jewish people with the future redemption. And only, especially with the days of the Mashiach, the true ultimate redemption, not just how Moses took us out of Egypt back then, and God is going to do it in the future, but a whole new type of freedom that every Jew will have, that there's no exile afterward. Davka Nasi, the Nasi has its power, lechaber, to unite, and to unify the exile that we're in now, all this confused world that we're in now, with Geula, with the future redemption. To unify this world where God is totally concealed. A lot of people don't even believe there is such a thing. And those that do believe that there's such a thing as God, they get it all confused. That's called galut. And even Jewish people, and even religious Jewish people, they get the whole idea of what the purpose of the world is, because we don't see any miracles. We don't see God. You can't blame anybody, right? What do you want? The God is not revealed. That's called exile. And to unite this with the Geula, when God will be revealed, and no one will make the mistakes that they're making now. Ubafratius, and especially even more, Lechaber et Yetzias Mitzrayim, to join the going out of Egypt and the days of the Mashiach together. Joining what we left Egypt 3,300 plus years ago and the days of the Mashiach, which has to happen now. Like it is in a way that the Hefsek shall galut b'intayim, as this whole exile between. In other words, don't just say that the 3,300 years that we've been in exile and all the self-sacrifice of all the Jews and all the commandments that they've done, right? All these 2-3, that was like a big dream. It's just, just like what is it? A gust of wind, gone with the wind. Now, the only reality is when Mashiach comes, no, don't say that. Every instant that the Jewish people were in exile and they suffered and they served, they devoted themselves to the creator of the universe, as every single second will become infinitely meaningful when Mashiach comes. That's what it means. Remember the days of going out of Egypt, all the days of your life. In other words, all of the days, the 3,300 years between now and the coming of the Mashiach, this is our job, to bring Mashiach into those days. Shebechayev shel Yehudi, that in the life of a Jew, Kol Yomei Chayecha, all the days of his life, like a soul in the body, in this physical world, B'zman HaGalus, in the time of exile, U'yochol etzeit miMitzrayim, he can go out of all of his limitations, including limitations of the past, limitations of time. Everything becomes present right now, meaningful, eternal. V'yaterim is, and even more, La'amod b'matzab mot Mashiach, they should bring them to be like in the days of the Mashiach. So suddenly everything becomes a whole new meaning and value. And therefore, therefore, on the day that Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, he became the leader of the Jewish people. And again, the job of the leader of the Jewish people is to do what we just finished saying, to link the Jewish people up as they are in the exile, and to link them up with the days of the Mashiach, pure revelation of truth and love and reality and meaning. And not only as they are right now, but even all the past times, all of the whole entire, that's the idea of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And that he, that's the first thing that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah did when he became the leader of the Jewish people was he said, Mazkirin Yetzias Mizraim, can we remember the going out of Egypt even in the nighttime, even in this time of exile? And why are we doing it? Lahavi Liyamot Mashiach, in order to bring to the days of the Mashiach. Remembering the going out of Egypt, and us personally going out of our limitations, our Mitzrayim, our limitations. Now, this is what brings to the Mashiach. Who can make us do this? That's the Rebbe. That's what the Rebbe is saying. That's what we're reading the words of the Rebbe. Where else? Who else says things like this? Ches. Yesh Lomar, we can say that this is connected with the preface of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. What did Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say? Go back. It says in the Gemara, but we say this in the Haggadah of Pesach every year, right? The Passover is a Haggadah. It says, Omer Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, Hare, behold, ani kaben shivim shana, I am like 70 years old. And I did not merit to have the third chapter of Shema Yisrael, where it talks about going out of Egypt, to have that said in the nighttime. I wanted to be said in the nighttime, but the rabbis wouldn't listen to me. Now I'm the leader of the Jewish people. I'm really only 18 years old, but I got another 52 years from, it says, the soul of Shmuel HaNavi, the prophet Shmuel, and now I'm like 70 years. And finally, I am merited. The first thing he did when he was appointed to be the head of the Jewish people, the first thing he did was said, all of my life, I wanted this paragraph that talks about going out of Egypt to be said at night. And I did not merit to it until Ben Zoma came and he explained and he gave the reason why it should be said in the nighttime. And the rabbi said, we got a better idea. Let's say it not only in the nighttime, let's say it even in the days of the Mashiach. That's the first thing he occupied himself in. And he said, I'm 70 years old. Why this whole preface that I am like 70 years old? Why? That what he said, I am like 70 years old. And he didn't say, I am 70 years old. Because the fact was, Ha'az, he was only 18 years old. And there happened a miracle. Vahadrul tamne sari, and there came 18 rows. 18 dari rows, chiyurta, of white beard. His beard turned white. He had 18, whatever it is, rows of white hairs in his beard. The call, this showed everyone, the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he is fitting, despite his youth, to be the Nasi. Because he had white hairs on his beard. V'na l'darshan liot zaken. And we can explain that now he became old. He became old, he was wise. Nimsa mikach, so it comes out from this. Listen, generally speaking, nothing teaches like experience. Even if a person knows the whole entire Torah when he's 3 years old, right? As soon as he can read, 1 year old, he knows the whole Torah, knows everything. But nevertheless, he has to have experience. A person can be a big genius, and he can go like Rav ben Navad. Rav ben Navad was a tremendous genius, knew the whole Torah, knew everything, and he made everybody do idolatry, right? Because he didn't learn from his own experience. He couldn't overcome his own drives and his own urges to be a leader. Right? He was a baby. He was a baby. Intellectually, he was great, but emotionally, he was an egotist, a baby. That's what it says. That's what made him do all these sins. The same thing, a person, when he's a child, you can't let a child, no matter how smart he is, you can't let him run a country. You can't let a child run. He hasn't got any experience. Any little egotistical thing, he'll get mad at somebody. He'll destroy a whole city. Who knows what he's going to do? So they didn't want Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah to be the leader of the country because he was only 18 years old. He didn't have any experience. So God made a miracle that he became old, everybody understands now, not only does he have experience, he also has wisdom. That first day when this big miracle happened to him, and he looked like he was 70 years old, the first thing he did was said, oh, now I am meriting that we should say going out of Egypt, even in the nighttime, even in the time of exile. Now, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he was in the time of exile. This was after the temple was destroyed. But Ad Kedikach, She'ad Az, that until then, he was Beli Habet, I'll call Malotov, without, notwithstanding all of the great qualities and ingenious the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had, that he was wise, he was rich, he was it was the 10th the generation from Ezra Sofer. Hari, Ezra was one of those that was involved in the building of the second temple. He held Judaism together when the Jews were in Babylon, and he came to Hari. He said, nevertheless, he did not merit to have the law like him. He wanted to have this third sentence of Shema that talks about going out of Egypt, to have it instituted that we should say it in the nighttime. They didn't listen to him, right? They didn't listen to him. Said, and that day that Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, he became a Nasi. So that day was, he said, now I'm going to make the law like Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. All of a sudden, everybody listened to him. He was 70 years old. What's it got to do with 70 years old? Let's see. If he was 60 years old, they wouldn't listen to him. It wouldn't have been a miracle. Instead of adding on 52 years to his life, right? So they'll add on 42 years to his life, and he'll be 60 years old. That's not a big miracle. 50 years is also a miracle. In those days, 50 years was also an older person. For sure, mature. 70 years is the shleimus b'chai adam. 70 years indicates a certain wholesomeness by a person. Like it says, you may
Rabbi Bolton, you're freezing again.
It's your thing. It's not mine. It's something wrong with your machine that you're listening to. Because I listened yesterday and it was okay. Says maybe go out and come back in again. It says the days of our life are 70 years. It's one of the Psalms of King David. There, Psalm 90. Psalm number 90. Yeah, the days of our life are 70 years. Why? Because what's the idea of 70 years? When a person reaches 70 years, then there is available to him a bureau called Sheva Midos, that is refined all of his 7 emotions, Kafi Shein B'Shleimot, as they are complete. Sheva Kolol Maser, each one included with 10. Or in more detail, a person is given 70 years in order to do the service of refining his 7 emotions, kafi, as they are in this world. 70 years of physical life. In what's called his animal soul. Like I said, the days of our physical life. It says, Yomei Shenotenu Bohem, in them, Bohem is language of Behema. So he has 70 years in his animal state, namely your physical body. And generally, that's 70 is a number that's also represented in the opposite of godliness, what's called the 70 nations of the world. And by means of serving God with the 70 holy aspects, then you can also refine the 70 mundane aspects. And that's the level of ayin. Ayin is the letter ayin is 70, right? In Judaism, ayin is 70, pei is 80. Ayin is 70. The word ayin also is for the eye, like an eye or a nose or an ear. Ayin is the gematria 70, but the word ayin, that's how you spell phonetically the letter ayin. Ayin But also the word ayin means the eye, your eyeball, your eye. Ria belokus means seeing godliness. 70 years means that there's opened the opportunity for a person to refine his personality, to refine his animal traits, and to see godliness. Ad shlemus b'zeh, and it'll be complete in the future. Al derech zeh, similarly, it is, that's why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, I am like 70 years old. Why did he say that? Because he was the Nasi, he was the leader of the Jewish people. He was the head of the Jewish people. Therefore, he had the obligation to reach completeness of 70 years, namely to refine himself and to refine everything in the world, namely the 70 nations. And this gives him the power that he could merit to say this third chapter of the Shema Yisrael that talks about going out of Egypt, to say it in the nighttime. Nighttime implies exile. That he can bring about this idea of refining the world and going out of Egypt. The future redemption, going out of Egypt, afilu biyotam, even when they are in the nighttime. Okay, what's the Rebbe saying? Let's just take a little pause over here. The Rebbe is trying to make something available to each and every one of us. He's trying to make this accessible to every single human being in the world, starting with the Jews. The Jews first. What's the Jews? The job of the Jews is to just be themselves, to be what a Jew is supposed to be. What is a Jew supposed to be? Like I said, to refine the world. In order to refine the world, you have to refine yourself, right? And you can't cut up a board if your saw isn't sharp. You can't pound a nail if you haven't got a handle on your hammer. You have to fix up your instruments first. Then you can start to work on building something. In this case, who is the instrument? The instrument is us. The instrument is my body, my emotions, my intellect. I have to fix it up to be in tune a little bit the way it's supposed to be, according to the manufacturer's instructions. This is not a difficult thing for anybody. First of all, a person has to understand that he has to fix himself up. You're not okay the way you are. You have to work on yourself. And in fact, you have to work on yourself constantly. But the goal of it is to be able to fix up the world. And says the Rebbe, we already have the Nasi. The Rebbe, he's the Nasi. The Rebbe, he's the leader. He's giving us the instructions. He's connecting the creator with the creation. He's coming to tell us how close we are to God and how infinitely powerful God is and how we have an attachment, a connection, right? An inheritance. In other words, it's ours. It doesn't belong to somebody else. That all we have to do is open it up, and we have this revelation and this ability to fix up the whole world, each and every one of us. This is not a faraway thing for it. That's the whole sentence that the book that Tanya is based on. It's very close to you. So a person has to then think about fixing up the world, in addition to the fact that he has to work on this every day until all of the days of your life have to be to bring to the days of the Mashiach. That's what you should be interested in, involved in. I want to say obsessed. Obsessed is a negative word, but about all the time. Me'ayin, like that's the letter from the ha'ilui. It should be like the future redemption, the high, complete future redemption, when the Creator will be revealed in the creation. Shenasa shlemos abirur. Then all the nations, the non-Jews also, will become totally purified. What does it mean, totally purified? That each one will reveal the good in himself and in his next door neighbor and in the area around him. Agil Deshivim. Once in a while, you see a video of somebody in Africa, some tribe, and they live in like total squalor. These people, and they in China, these other places, They live like by the river, and they go to the bathroom in the river, and they use the river for washing. Everything is the river, and just total abject poverty, what they call. And suddenly, one person over there, he goes to university, or he reads a book, or he teaches himself how to read, and he develops some sort of a way to purify water. Purify water. And from that, people understand, it's beautiful to purify water. Maybe we can use sun power to bring electricity to our houses. You have electricity in your houses, you can also bring into your house a computer. You can start to work. You can connect to the world. You can make new things. All of a sudden they reveal all this potential that there is inside of them, right? Everybody told them, you're just a bunch of savages. You're living down there. You don't know what's going on. And that's how they lived, because that's how they believed. All of a sudden, they really realize they have tremendous potential, things that nobody else could dream of. Suddenly, they realize, and sometimes specifically they can reveal some things that the biggest geniuses couldn't come to. But it has to be revealed. The potential has to be revealed. And that's what Moshiach will do. To reveal the good potential in every single human being, and to reveal that God wants to help everyone succeed. He wants to. You have questions? I also have questions, but nevertheless, that's the truth. And that's what it means. We have the ability to refine the 70 nations of the world. And by the way, this idea of refining the nations, it doesn't mean that I alone am going to save everybody. It means just sometimes just saying good morning to one person, and that person, it puts him in a good mood, and he goes home and he kisses his children instead of getting all aggravated, right? And his child says, how are you doing in school today? Daddy, you talk to me. I don't believe it, right? Because you said hi to him, and therefore he said to his son a nice thing, and his son went to school, and he said a nice thing to somebody else, and that person develops a whole new cure for all the diseases of the world because he was in a good. You don't know how things can develop. That's what we learned in the mimer in the morning. It's like planting a seed. That's what it means. Eventually, that your eyes will see your teacher. That God will be found revealed in the whole world. You look at everything, you'll only see good. The glory of Hashem will be revealed, and all flesh will see together. We can attach this to the name of Rebbe Eliezer ben Azariah. Rebbe Eliezer ben Azariah, El-Azar ben Azariah. El means God, Azar will help. God will help. This is Azra Yudke, and Azariah, that's El-Azar, means God will help, and his last name was Azariah, also help, Yudke, God. Eliezer means the help of God from the helper of God. This is joining both of them together in a way that the main thing is that God helps. Elazar, that he receives from Azar Yudke, how God helps. In other words, I help others because God helps me. Then the main thing is that Elazar is the Ben Azariah. He draws down that God will help you. He is the son of God helping. And it says the son has more power than the father does. The children can have more abilities than their parents. Or like we say, like Ben Chorin, that his whole being becomes one of freedom. Ben Chorin means a free person. It's called a Ben Chorin. Ben Adam. A Ben Adam means not that you're a son of man, that you're a man. That the whole thing of Elazar, of God helping, comes from Azar Yudke. Azari, that Hashem helps. We're able to help others. Hainu, that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he has special aid and help from God. And according to how God is above the world, that's from the name of Kael, El Azar, or whether from the name of Yudke, Azariah, which is even higher. These two names show on a level of godliness which is above the world. How much more so Elazar ben Azariah? El is the name of God. Azar Yudke is also the name of God. It's even a higher name. That both of them, when you put them together, from there we receive help from God. He received help from God to be the leader of the Jewish people and to give the Jewish people also power that they can also do their service in going out of Egypt. So in other words, it's not the Mashiach that does it. It's God giving help to the Mashiach, but without the Mashiach, you can't do it. It just has to come through. It's like electricity comes through from the socket in your wall. It's not the socket that gives electricity; it's the source. But without the socket, the place where you put it into, you can't get without a cord. That was Elazar ben Azariah. He was the Nasi. He said, saying he gave the power for the Jewish people to go out of Egypt in the exile, and even to bring to the days of the Mashiach. Even in the days of the Mashiach, we will not stop serving God and improving this world more and more. That's the job of every single Jew in the world. We'll continue this, God willing, tomorrow with Tet. Now let's do Hayom Yom. Okay, just a small summary. So what did we just finish learning? Why in the night we leave Egypt on the Seder night, we talk about going out of Egypt. And we tell the story about Elazar ben Azariah being 70 years old and saying, I merited this day that he became the leader of the Jewish people. This day I merited that we say going out of Egypt in the nighttime, and even more say it in the days of the Mashiach. And that's what we have to remember all the time, that going out of Egypt was not just a historical thing that happened a long time ago, that it's something that gives us power every day and every moment of our life, and all of the energy that we have. Is the essential point of life is to know that we are in unnecessary limitation, and it's our job to go out in order to reveal our true potential, the godliness which is inside of every human being and every detail of the world. That's called going out of Egypt, and we bring it by means of remembering this every day of our lives. When the Tzemach Tzedek was a boy, he learned the passage. This is last week's Torah portion. Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. His teacher said, according to the Baal HaTurim, that the best years of his life was in Egypt. When he returned home, the Tzemach Tzedek, that was the third Rebbe of Chabad, he asked his grandfather, who was the Alter Rebbe, the one who wrote the Tanya, how can it be that Yaakov, the choice of our forefathers, had the best years of his life in Egypt? Egypt was a corrupted land. It was a decadent place. How could it be? The Alter Rebbe said, it says that he sent Yehuda before him to give instructions to Goshen, that he made places of house of study, Torah study. Means that when a person learns Torah, he becomes closer to God. Even in Egypt. That's why it says that he was alive there. Also, he was alive there because he had all of his children together, and he could teach them Torah in Egypt. That's the whole purpose of the Jewish people, to be in the physical world and transform the world into heaven on earth. God bless you all. 3:00 we'll learn Chumash with Rashi. Have a good day with Mashiach now.